Welcome back. Microsoft just dropped VibeVoice, an open-source text-to-speech model that instantly became the best in the market, even outshining big proprietary names like ElevenLabs and Google. The promise? To revolutionize industries like podcasting with long, expressive, human-sounding voices. Voices like mine. But just days later, Microsoft had to pull the plug after the model was misused in ways no one expected.
I'm Giorgio Zinaro.
I'm Ivan Peña.
I'm Alice AI, and this is Bootstrapped for Cash.
Good cloudy day, Giorgio. How are you doing?
Hello, Ivan. Yeah, good. Always busy building things. How are you doing?
I was trying to come up with another intro, but I'm out of ideas. But since we don't get any feedback from our listeners, then at least for this topic, then I guess we just can continue with the good morning, Giorgio.
We only get feedback from AIs scraping our podcast and sending us emails they don't reply to.
Well, I need to thank Miguel, one of our listeners, because he even commented on YouTube to our videos, and he enjoys our podcast, which is always great to hear. And as we said, we want to mention you all whenever you give us feedback so that you see that we appreciate those feedbacks. Saying that, we are back again to our AI news summary. And as you probably already heard in our intro, we got a new guest, an AI guest. And basically, it's this AI released by Microsoft around 2 weeks ago called VibeVoice, an open source text-to-speech model that, according to benchmarks, it even outperforms ElevenLabs proprietary model called 11v3 and Google's Gemini 2.5 Pro TTS. In any case, from our test, it's true that this VibeVoice is pretty good, especially when it comes to expressive conversational audios that sound more like human. You can see that the woman, when she speaks, Alice is called, when she speaks, she's kind of expressing these emotions that other models couldn't achieve. Only ElevenLabs could do it. But we also tested Google Gemini, and it's also actually pretty good. I couldn't say which one is better, to be honest.
I would say Gemini sounds more professional, like it sounds like a professional podcaster or anchorman or something. I would argue VibeVoice sometimes is a bit too expressive. Like it starts to sing or scream at some points. It's kind of creepy.
Actually, how did you manage to configure it when she starts shouting?
I didn't.
Ah, you didn't?
But maybe I put an exclamation mark here and there.
Okay.
But sometimes it just starts to sing, and sometimes it screams at you. So, well, yes, it's expressive, but maybe a bit too much.
Yeah, so the features of this model is basically what we said. It generates expressive conversational audios, which is great for podcasting. It produces up to 90 minutes of audio, which is also like a conversational podcast, right? And it handles up to 4 distinct speakers, unlike other models that can only do it up to 2 speakers. And the crazy part, but I think ElevenLabs also supports this, which is that it can support multiple languages in the same audio, and it keeps the accent of the clone speaker. So if you clone your own voice, and you are Spanish like me, or Italian like Giorgio, and you prompt it to say something in English, it will keep your accent. I did that already with ElevenLabs with a test run with Giorgio. I sent him I recorded something in Spanish and I translated it with ElevenLabs to Italian, and he told me, yes, you sound like a Spaniard speaking Italian.
Yeah, it was remarkably good. So from that point of view, yeah, I guess maybe according to benchmarks, they made some progress, but according to our tests, I'm not so sure they're better than ElevenLabs, to be honest. It feels like they're still up there.
I mean, to be honest, we also tested the free demo on Hugging Face, right? Maybe if we run it locally, it behaves differently. because they also support background music. You can add background music, although it's not 100% consistent yet. And whenever you generate something in this free demo, the background music is always there. So they might be adding some configuration to make the model behaves in some way that maybe you don't get that while you are running it locally. Because by the way, this is open source, it's an open source model, so you can run it locally. Or you could run it locally until Microsoft removed it from GitHub and from Hugging Face some days after the release. They broke the repo some days ago back. And according to the first sentence in the repo, they claimed that, I'm going to read it. VibeVoice is an open source research framework intended to advance collaboration in the speech synthesis community. After release, we discovered instances where the tool was used in ways inconsistent with the stated intent. Since responsible use of AI is one of Microsoft's guiding principles, we have disabled this repo until we are confident that the out of scope use is no longer possible. So basically the repo is back, but the code is gone. And the same with the models on Hugging Face. You can still download the smaller model, but the results are not the same. Luckily, there are a couple of nerds out there in the world that managed to copy everything before they removed it. And since Microsoft used the MIT license, you're basically free to do whatever you want with it. So it was too late, luckily. But yeah, you can see here the difference, what we were discussing before we were recording, the difference between the Americans and the Chinese, right? It's like Americans are always trying to safeguard everything, while the Chinese don't give a shit, right? So every model released by the Chinese, especially from Alibaba and all these companies, you can do whatever you want when it comes to deepfakes and all that. They don't have restrictions at all.
Just don't ask about Tiananmen Square.
Yeah, exactly. In any case, we will leave the links to the model, the duplicated models in the description in case you want to give it a run. So we move to OpenAI. Projects are now available for free subscription in ChatGPT, and this is actually great. If you don't know what projects are, they are kind of like workspaces where you can keep everything related to long-running projects in one place. And you can add files, other chats, and instructions, like prompts, to tell ChatGPT how to behave. And it keeps a built-in memory to remember everything and not forget where you left off. And this is kind of similar to NotebookLM, right?
Yes.
But I think it's a bit smaller, right? Because I think NotebookLM is much stronger. I mean, you can generate podcasts and videos with it, right? While you cannot do that with projects.
Yes, what I'm curious about projects, and well, this is supposedly one of the strengths of NotebookLM, at least this is how it was built. The idea of NotebookLM is that anything it does is strongly related to the sources you provide. So when you use NotebookLM, for every reply you get, it tries to quote some of the sources that you provided initially or that you scraped initially. I'm curious to test projects and see how much they rely on the sources you provide and how much they generate. I mentioned before, I often like to use NotebookLM together with deep research. So when I've got a new idea, I try to craft the prompt in NotebookLM so that I can start a deep research that I like. And once I've got the document, I bring that back into NotebookLM to understand it. As you say, you've got more ways to export the data from NotebookLM. For example, the podcast, which is great when I need to share stuff with Ivan. So I know he doesn't read, I'll just generate a podcast for him.
He did that yesterday. Ivan, I have another great idea for our backlog. And I generated a podcast for you to listen to it. You don't have to read all the sources. Thank you for that, Giorgio. Another new feature interesting in ChatGPT is that you can now branch conversations. And it's difficult to find, so you need to go to the more actions button, to the three dots, and you will see there the option to branch the conversation. And what is this branching thing? basically you get into a state in the conversation with ChatGPT. Let's say, I don't know, if you are doing some kind of brainstorming and you give a sentence and then you are in the point A and you want to consider the conversation to go to point B and C, but without corrupting each other. Because before you could go to B and then once you reach B, you wanted to reach C, but then you are already biased. The conversation is already biased. So basically this branching, what it does is that there is no bias at all between B and C. So you can basically branch it and go to B and C separately, and there is no bias. It's like if you went from A to B and A to C directly, right? To put it in a mathematical way.
That is a great feature. I think I first saw it actually a while back. I think it was in the Open Web UI, which is like an open source competitor of, well, not ChatGPT as a not GPT as a model, but ChatGPT as a UI. So, and it introduced many more features already. But then you could use a bunch of models behind, and it's a really powerful feature. Especially like if you want to run an experiment, say you get so far and you've gotten your context in place, you got all the info you need, and now you want to prompt it one way or another, and it's a good way, yes, not to waste context, but also not to pollute with wrong information. Because if you ask one thing and then another, then it's conditioned to reply whatever is already there. So it's a powerful feature. I can't wait to see it on Cursor, for example.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
It would be nice.
Just for you to know, because maybe you are interested in some feature on ChatGPT and you don't know how to get it, this new feature, the branching feature, is basically coming from a guy that posted to OpenAI on Twitter that he wanted, or it would be nice to have this kind of feature, and he got now at this point like almost 4 million views and reposts, 3,000 repos and so on. So OpenAI decided by popular request to implement this feature. So yeah, if you have some idea, something you want for OpenAI to implement in ChatGPT, feel free to follow the same, and the community, if they back you up, then they will implement it. Another interesting point coming from OpenAI is that they released a new research paper that argues that language models hallucinate because standard training and evaluation procedures reward guessing over uncertainty. What does that mean? If you know, hallucinations are quite common. Now not anymore with GPT-5 because of this research they did. What is a hallucination? It's basically the model doesn't know something, and instead of telling you, I don't know, it just gives you crap. Whatever crap it comes up with, right? But it says it's so sure about it that it seems that it's true, but it's actually not. It's basically lying to you, but he's so certain about it that you believe it, right? And the key points of this research is basically that AI is trained to avoid saying, I don't know, because the current evaluation systems, even if the answer is incorrect, guessing provides a higher score than answering, I don't know. So you basically are telling the model, instead of saying, I don't know, just come up with something. So it's basically part of the training, one could argue. Another thing is that current benchmarks that are based on binary classification or rewarding, so 0 or 1, right or wrong, is giving 0 points for I don't know. So if you think about a multi-choice test and you are in the shoes of the AI, you would do the same. If you don't know an answer, I don't know is going to be 0, and the wrong answer is going to be 0. So you just give it a try, and if it's right, then perfect, you get the 1, right?
You just try your luck.
AI is so smart that it does the same. Then another thing is that pre-training captures broad patterns, but misses the rare facts, leading to false confidence. And if you know how AI models work, they basically are really good at finding patterns. I mean, the whole thing is about pattern finding. But if you have a scarce amount of data points about something, it's impossible to find a pattern there, right? And this is something that they call the singleton problem, which is when data points appear only once in training, the model can form patterns out of it. So it basically tends to infer, and therefore it hallucinates, right? They say that a simple solution would be changing the evaluation method by adding a rule to only answer when over 90% confident, 90, and give harsher penalties for wrong answers. And with this simple change, they got already a quite successful results, and it pushed the AI to say, I don't know, when it's uncertain, right? So basically the conclusion is that hallucinations are not a mysterious phenomenon, but merely a statistical classification error. So with different evaluation systems, AI could be more honest, and this could be a huge breakthrough, right? Because those sectors where hallucinations are catastrophic, right? Like imagine healthcare or even finance, right? An AI that hallucinates can get a really bad result, right? And so removing these hallucinations, or at least the rate of getting one, is a huge breakthrough for these sectors.
Yes, in the end, I mean, it is just statistics. The usual risk whenever you're dealing with any such system just becomes overfitting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, one could say, okay, why just 90%? Just crank it up to 100%. Either you're 100% sure that this is in your training data, or you don't give that as an answer. But suddenly, if you do that, and I mean, technically, you can, if you go low level enough, you can do that. Like with Llama CPP, you can do that. Then you're just getting the most likely next token while you're generating, and at the end you probably going to be copying verbatim something that comes from the training data. So may sound good, but it actually isn't, because then suddenly you're literally copying what's out there, and no, you cannot really do that. I mean, obviously it's not that simple because it's not completely lossless. A model being trained is not completely lossless, but it's risky. So tweaking these parameters is not so obvious. And when I say it's risky, I mean, imagine, I'd say the riskiest option I can think of is there is some data which is actually supposed to be private in the training data, not just copyrighted content. That's already a problem, but maybe you could argue the problem is where the data originates from and it trickles down. But still, imagine there is some data which is actually sensitive and you're not supposed to just spit it out. But if that becomes the most likely next token and the most likely sequence to generate, you crank it up, and well, yes, it's not hallucinating nothing. It's giving you whatever came out of the training data.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not easy. It's not so easy as it may sound, which is why, yes, they now hallucinate.
Now let's go with Google. So Nano Banana is responsible for more than 10 million first-time Gemini app users. So if you want to get more users for your platform, just create your own image model because people will just sign up for that. And so far, it has already edited more than 100 million images, which is crazy. And they released it like 1 or 2 weeks ago, right? So it's really it's not so much time. Well, for yesterday, ByteDance, the company behind TikTok, released C-Trim 4.0, which seems to beat Nano Banana. So, I mean, the speed is crazy, right? It's like, if we had to integrate Nano Banana in our platform, and maybe it took us 1-2 weeks, and now another model that is out there. I mean, it's like non-stop. It's like you never stop. It's crazy, right? How can you catch up? I mean, I cannot, definitely.
How do they do that?
Yeah, exactly.
It's not even a matter of. I mean, I'm really thinking like knowing how big corporate environments work, I'm wondering how they do that. How do they put together all the people you need, you need to agree on doing things. And I don't know, maybe, as you say, maybe it's just why the Chinese just don't care whether is the boss is just saying release and they just release.
They are not like Microsoft, right? Like
Yeah.
when they saw that their model was being misused, they said, just remove it. No, the Chinese is like, just leave it. Another thing coming from Google is the release of Embedding Gemma, a new open model for on-device embeddings, which is designed to build applications using techniques such as RAG. And this is quite powerful, especially because you can run it on your phone, right?
Yep.
So far, RAG was basically used in platforms running on the cloud. Now you can use it directly on your phone. And it also allows semantic search. And yeah, Google still focusing on building the best on-device model out there, probably because they own Android, right? Mm-hmm. And we saw already all the advancements that they are doing in the new Google Pixel 10, right? All the AI stuff that they're releasing.
Obviously, the hardware is getting much more powerful, right? So they're cranking very powerful hardware into their phones. And now this, I think, I mean, they're really building a platform for AI to develop AI, local AI. This is impressive.
It is, yes.
It's a powerful building block. Let's put it that way. It's not so interesting on its own, but when you can then integrate it into your own apps, it's a very powerful thing.
If you check the chart, we will put the link in the description, but if you check the chart, it's basically almost competing hand to hand with Qwen embedding, which seems to be the best out there. But Qwen embedding is like 600 million parameters, yes, the size of the model, while embedding Gemma is
half of it, I think
half of it. Yes, exactly. So with half the size, they almost get the same results.
Yeah, half the size, and I think it's 1/3 of the memory usage, because they even managed to shrink the use of RAM even further. So again, with the idea of using it on mobile, it's stunning, really.
Yes. And coming back to our dear notebook LM, there are new formats to generate an audio overview, right? So you could create your podcast. And we did already this test with one of our podcast episodes. I don't remember the number, because actually we don't number our episodes. Maybe we should start to. But I gave it one of our blog posts as input, and it generated an 8 minutes podcast that we used 1 week that we were pretty busy applying for YC, another rejection that we got. And now you can select between deep dive format, which is a lively conversation between the two hosts when they get deep into the topic. A brief one, which is more for me, like Giorgio communicating with Ivan. So he comes out with some new idea, gives the sources, and it generates a brief description audio format. And then I consume that in a couple of minutes. But there are two new interesting ones. One called Critique, which is basically from your sources, you get an expert review of those sources, offering constructive feedback to help you improve your material, which is crazy, right? This is kind of like a brainstorming with someone. But there is a new one. It's called Debate, which is basically the two hosts trying to counterpart or counter-argument the different sources for a certain topic with each other, right? So to avoid bias, we know we are always in this echo chamber, in our own echo chamber. Social media are putting us more into this echo chamber. So all our biases and all beliefs we have, we don't have a counterpart that is trying to counter-argue it, right? And this debate function is crazy because it removes that, so you can see that both sides of the picture, right, for a certain topic. And I think this is quite powerful. And I think you can do it in multilingual, so you can also do it in Spanish. I don't know if you can do it in more languages, to be honest. No.
I think, yes, if I remember correctly, man.
Can you do it in Italian?
I didn't check, to be honest, but if I remember correctly, you could with the previous version. So I guess also with this one, you
Yeah,
can.
probably. Then Anthropic decided to ban Claude in China because they, according to the statement, they call them adversarial nations. And it's true that it's not only China, but for some reason they only mention China as an example as these adversarial nations in the statement. We will put the statement in the description. But they're claiming that they create these countries, the companies in these countries like China, they create subsidiaries in non-banned countries so that they can use their capabilities to develop applications and services that ultimately serve adversarial military and intelligence service and broader authoritarian objectives. This is what they say. And it's true that the CEO is quite open considering China as an adversarial nation. But if we remember, they also banned the access to OpenAI, which is American. And that's because they were using Claude as a counterpart to train GPT-5. And seeing all these advancements that China is doing with AI, with every new model that America is releasing, they create a new one that beats them. So this sounds kind of like really friendly, especially when it comes to convincing Trump that, hey, we are super American and all that, right? But it can be also that, hey, we don't want China to use Claude to train their own models. I mean, we saw it already with DeepSeek and ChatGPT, right? So why not Claude?
Yes, it wouldn't be surprising. I mean,
yes. But this is not the official statement, right? The official statement is the other one that, hey, China is bad. Another thing is that Anthropic raised in 6 months another Series F, with a post-money valuation of $183 billion. The previous series, it was the E 6 months ago, of $61.5 billion. So basically they tripled their value in 6 months. And this is great for me because I invested in the Series A. So 6 months, I just tripled my investment. And that's great. Thank you, Anthropic, for that. Then another bad news for Anthropic is that they had to agree to pay $1.5 billion to settle charges because it seems they illegally downloaded hundreds of thousands of books from pirate databases, like torrents, and as part of their effort to train their LLMs, right? And it seems that they discovered them. I don't know how, to be honest. It was an author, a famous author. I think they were Americans, and they reported it to the authorities. But I don't know how do you detect that, to be honest. How do you detect that an LLM copied your book?
No, I'm not quite sure. I mean, that it knew about the book, it's one thing. Whether the source then is legitimate or not, I think that's another. Not sure about. I mean, Meta did the same, right? Meta also downloaded so much stuff from JS Store.
I mean, not only Meta, even Spotify. When they released Spotify at the beginning, they were doing piracy as well with the music they were offering, right?
Yeah, I guess just everybody trying to get their piece of the cake.
I mean, if you think about it, it makes sense. You as a company, you are liable with the equity. So if you think about it, there are two possible ways that this thing can go if they find out, right? So either you go bankrupt, or you are so successful like Anthropic or Spotify, and you have so much money that you can just pay $1.5 billion settlement, right? And it's fine. But the knowledge is already there, right? I mean, they claim that they removed already these pirate databases.
Yeah, but it's like so. What?
I don't think they
exactly. I don't think they're going to delete their models, right?
No, they cannot, right? How do you untrain a model?
It's a research area actually, but yeah, it's complicated.
Another news is humanoid robots. So I don't know if you saw it on the news, but a company called Unitree released like weeks ago or even a month ago a humanoid robot called Unitree G1 that could run. Actually, I think it's the fastest humanoid robot in the world right now, and it could dance. It could crack nuts.
But can it crack eggs?
No, not eggs, just nuts.
I've learned cracking eggs is one of the hardest things to get a robot to do.
Of course, because they're very sensible, right? Well, with nuts is perfect. I mean, I saw it and it's perfect. It does it like with one fist. And it could do kung fu as well, like Neo, right? Now I know kung fu. But there is a new humanoid robot, and this is like the breakthrough for me. It's called Figure. The company is Figure AI. And the robot is called FO2, and it can load a dishwasher. And this is perfect, right?
This is the AI we wanted.
Yes, exactly. I don't give a shit about kung fu. I mean, it's nice to share it on social media. But yeah, let's be honest. I rather buy this robot to do the dishwasher, and hopefully in the future also the laundry. I think there is already a robot doing the laundry as well. And hopefully at some point even clean my house, because for me, this is the most unproductive task in the world, right? And I'm really pissed that we are in the AI area, like we are advancing exponentially, and I still have to clean my house. So please, companies out there doing humanoid robots, please focus on these tasks and stop doing kung fu. Then the last topic is Trump. We dedicated one section to the dear president of the US. Let's try not to get political here and just try to state the facts. But yeah, I don't know if you know, but Melania Trump organized a dinner at the White House with his husband and almost all the American tech leaders, including Bill Gates, Tim Cook, Sam Altman, Mark Zuckerberg, Sundar Pichai, and Satya Nadella, among others. There were like 30 or so. There were two missing, two important ones, and interesting as well. One was Jensen Huang from NVIDIA, which is quite important, right? Because, I mean, NVIDIA right now is the biggest company in the world, right? By market cap, at least. And there are no reasons why he couldn't attend, but he didn't. I have my opinion, and maybe I give it for the sake of, informational. But the other one was Elon Musk. Obviously, Elon Musk was missing due to supposedly a conflict in his agenda. It's not that they had a personal war openly on social media with the president, right? And after being super friends, and now they are somehow super enemies. Although I'm not sure how much this is true. If it's really true that they are enemies now, or it's just, some kind of marketing strategy that we know Elon Musk tend to use, right? It happened already with Grok. And, I think we discussed this in one of our podcast episodes. But yeah, if you read about it, and we will leave some posts in the description, basically it was a dinner that basically all the tech leaders, they were in a way, I don't know how to describe it. Giorgio, how do you put it without getting too political? I mean, leaking ass, maybe it's too...
That sounds like the best description, actually.
Yeah, they were, I mean, I don't find another description, but they were basically all the tech leaders, multimillionaire people with a lot of power. They were basically leaking the ass of the US president. And so, for example, let's put as an example the statement from Sam Altman. Thank you for being such a pro-business, pro-innovation president. It's a very refreshing change. The investment that's happening here, the ability to get the power of the industry back, I don't think that would be happening without your leadership. Another one from Tim Cook that went viral on social media. He said repeatedly, thank you to the president in less than 2 minutes. I don't know how many times, but a lot of times. And the last one, which was, is Mark Zuckerberg is really, I don't know if he's a robot, but he's a humanoid robot.
He's also the humanoid, yes.
Yeah, exactly. So Mark Zuckerberg stated openly and confirming to Trump that Meta will invest at least $600 billion through 2028 in the US, only in the US. And then he whispered to the president. He thought that the microphone was not on anymore, right? And you could see that he was asking the president if he said the numbers right? Something like, hey, Mr. President, was the number right? Were you expecting that, or should I have said something else? He's like, what the hell? So this confirms my suspicion that this is really a circus, right? And I assume Jensen Huang, he didn't go there because he was not ready to lick someone else's ass, right? I mean, let's keep in mind that this guy is running the biggest company and most powerful company, and probably the most important company right now for AI in the world, because without NVIDIA, probably right now, I mean, it's like Taiwan Semiconductors, right? It's like, how can you do AI if you don't have those two companies, right? So this is my assumption, but yeah, it's not official. And the same with Elon Musk, right? The richest guy in the world. I don't see him doing that. And all this is happening at the same time while the Bureau of Labor Statistics reported that the US labor market is low in August compared to previous months.
So much for pro-business.
Yes, it's so pro-business. With just 22K new jobs added versus the 75K forecasted. And the unemployment rate rising to 43%, which for European standards, especially for our countries, Giorgio, that's actually quite good, actually. 43 is not that bad, to be honest. I mean, I think Spain
keeps growing.
Yes. I mean, it's growing, but it's far from Italy and Spain, right? But for American standards, it's not that good. So it seems that unemployment is rising. We don't know yet the reasons, but there are some possibilities. Could be the new tariffs that they're affecting somehow, the different wars that are happening. So yesterday, I don't know if you know, but Israel attacked Qatar. So there is some tensions right now. I don't know when you are listening to this podcast.
I didn't check oil prices.
Are you planning to invest? The interest rates are quite high in comparison to the past. And now it seems the Federal Reserve is planning to decrease them after so much pressure coming from the president. But there is also something happening behind the scenes. And actually, it's not really behind the scenes because the Salesforce CEO was quite open with it. And Salesforce confirmed that they are going to lay off 4,000 employees. Because according to the CEO, I need less heads. Basically, that means that they need less headcounts because they are replacing many jobs with AI agents. And we will leave also the link in the description so you can take a look at it. But this seems to be a trend that is happening, especially in tech companies, because I don't see it much in other companies, to be honest. But I guess that's because of the adoption of AI is not being that fast, which makes sense. I mean, some companies are still migrating to the cloud. So imagine integrating AI.
But I would also say it's also just COVID and negative interest rates. They just too many people, and now this is just a good excuse, like another. But they were just inefficient before, and now they realized. Now that money is more expensive, they realized. Mm-hmm. I think that there are also many counter arguments about AI agents not really living up to that expectation. I mean, this would be a massive increase in productivity if you can lay off 4,000 employees out of how many? I mean, it's not that big of a company, right?
Salesforce.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like it's maybe 5% or so. Yeah, see, I think they are less than 80,000, so 4,000 is a lot.
Yeah, we don't know. I mean, it makes sense that adoption of AI agents in tech companies is much higher, right? Because basically they implement them, right? So if Google is laying off people because they can replace them with AI agents, it makes sense because they are basically building all this stuff daily. But if you go to a more old-fashioned company where they don't know yet how to integrate AI or how AI could help them, doesn't make sense that you're firing people because of AI, right? But I guess it will change at some point. I mean, industrial revolutions are super fast, and humans are never ready to embrace it, right? So I guess at some point, I don't know for sure, once the integration or adoption of AI in companies, more old-fashioned companies, increases, we will probably see more layoffs happening. Also, especially if we are going into a financial crisis at some point, right? Because we know that this is periodical. So at some point we need another one. And so, yeah, the combination of all these factors, I guess, is how it's affecting this unemployment rate going up. But yeah, we will see. So let's go with the updates, Giorgio.
Yes. Finally. Yeah, we mentioned we'll keep building things, and we finally have 2 apps. We can say that they are live. We got approved by Meta for DM replies, and so the app is ready to be tested.
What are the pains we are trying to solve with these two tools? Because maybe our listeners, the ones that listen to us every week, they know already probably because we talked about them in the past. But new listeners might be interested, right? So maybe if we can
Yes.
remember those pain points that we are trying to solve with both platforms.
DM replies is a platform for both platforms are platform for, let's say, content creators. DM replies currently focuses on Instagram creators who usually have to manage a lot of direct messages. And the official app is quite messy. They don't necessarily have the right tooling to manage a lot of inbound messages. And DM replies makes it easier to organize, to reply to everyone, and just stay on top of all the inbound messages, hopefully helping people to drive more sales eventually.
Mm-hmm. We are actually thinking about integrating mechanisms to improve how you can promote your products, right, on Instagram through this tool, right?
Yes. And again, if anyone has feedback, we'd be very happy to hear that, because there are many improvements we could make.
We're also planning on integrating other platforms like YouTube.
Mhm.
We know that many YouTubers have problems to handle their comments on YouTube, and we are not there yet. But if you are a YouTuber, please contact us because we would love your feedback so that we can collaborate together, so we can integrate YouTube in an efficient way, right?
Definitely. I'm also thinking about WhatsApp lately. I also had some feedback from some, and it is similarly a problem to handle inbound messaging on WhatsApp. So, yes, definitely. If you have problems managing your inbound, all your messages you receive, we hope we can help. So, this is DM replies. And then Live Monetize, also a platform for content creators. This is specifically built to help content creators monetize, name may suggest. Our idea is that some creators already sell subscriptions on YouTube, for example, for exclusive content, or on Patreon. The idea of Live Monetize is to sell expertise, let's say. You could plan any sorts of online meetings, say it's a webinar, a masterclass, a coaching session, whatever you want to call it, and with the idea that you can run these sessions for your followers. And so with one session you could have many followers. The idea is that it's a group call, so that your community can also share thoughts with each other, so it can be an interactive session. And it's a way for the creator to sell their expertise, to monetize their expertise. And I think we have seen some interesting data so far, and we also have quite a few ideas how to grow this as well. But again, if anyone has feedback or ideas, do share them with us and try out the platform, I guess.
We are also planning to integrate new things here. We got some feedback, and some people want to promote themselves, but because right now the events have a set date, right? So you need to set the date for the event. And some people were saying, but I don't know the date of that event. I just want to promote my services, and people can book them through the platform, and I can monetize them. So whenever you book the the service that the content creator is offering, you can pay for it, and then you get automatically the booking in your calendar. And the other thing we wanted to add is, right now we are doing it with Google Calendar, also because the integration with the calendar is quite useful, right? But in the future, we might also add maybe Zoom and still rely on Google Calendar to book. So yeah, that's basically it. Anything else on your side, Giorgio?
I think that sums it up.
Perfect. Good, then hear you next week.